Hello, my name is Father Tighe, and this is our 122nd segment of our Journey of Faith in the Light of the Cross, in which we continue to cover the patriarchs in Stephen's speech in the Acts of the Apostles. And in this segment, we continue with Jacob. So we see on our screen, Uncle Laban is as deceitful as Jacob. They're both deceitful. But Jacob does reject possessions. He prefers to use the deceitful talents he inherited from Rebekah's family, Rebekah's his mother, to fulfill Isaac's blessing of Abraham. And God wondrously cooperated. And we asked the question, why? But we had to study it first. We go now to our next screen. And we remember Stephen's distinction between inheritance and possessions is confirmed by the Genesis stories. And because it confirmed them, he was put to death. This is very important. We note well that Jacob received no possessions by stealing Esau's blessings by deceit. Instead of taking pay, he looked for opportunities to use deceit to show he deserved the birthright and blessing. So he was up to a competitive, deceitful world, and he deserved the birthright and the blessing more than poor Esau. We now got back to Genesis 28:14, which we ended the last segment, 121, God's blessing of Jacob. We go on to our next screen. The Lord blessed Jacob. This is 28:14 of Genesis. All nations shall find blessing in your sperm. He continues, I will bring you back to this land. I will never leave you till I have fulfilled my promise to you. And he's blessing a very deceitful man. Verse 16, when Jacob awoke, he said, the Lord is truly in this place. This is God's abode, a gateway to heaven. He's not talking about Jerusalem. He called it Bethel, which means the house of the Lord. If I return to this land, this will be God's abode. Now in segment 17, it was not Bethel as sacred a possession as God's abode, as Jerusalem's temple, and weren't both expendable as possessions, not inheritance? That was the question. We go on to our next screen. Jacob came to a well in Haran, which is in Mesopotamia, northwestern modern Syria. And he asked, do you know Laban? That's his uncle he's looking for. Yes, and here comes Laban's daughter Rachel with his flock. When Jacob saw Rachel, he rolled the stone off the well. He was very strong, and water came up out of the well, indicating God's blessing of Jacob. He kissed Rachel and burst into tears. He burst into tears because he welled up inside, and water welled up inside, indicating he was going to be a life-giving father of 12 sons with God's approval. And all of this is the background of the Samaritan woman story, which we did in segment 17. Now we continue. Verse 12. He told Rachel he was Rebekah's son, her father's sister. She ran to tell her father. So Jacob worked for Laban. Now we go to our next screen and we see Laban wants to be fair. He says to Jacob, Laban asked, what should I pay you? Jacob knows enough not to trust his uncle Laban. Jacob said, I'll serve you 7 years for Rachel. Laban said, I agree. Now after 7 years, Jacob said, give me Rachel, for my time is fulfilled. And Laban seemed to agree. He had a big party, a feast. But when it came time, he gave him Leah instead of Rachel. At dawn the next morning, Jacob cried out, how can you deceive me like this? Laban said, I can't marry the younger daughter first. Finish this week and I'll give you Rachel for 7 more years of service. Not only does he have to serve 7 years, but 7 more years to get Rachel. So Uncle Laban is very deceitful. But our friend Jacob will get even. Jacob agreed, for he loved Rachel most. We go to our next screen. But Rachel was barren, so she envied her older sister Leah. Rachel said to Leah, you may lie with Jacob tonight. She's given her permission, which means Rachel is the one in charge. She's the first wife, and she's in control of Jacob. This says a lot. She says, you can sleep with Jacob tonight if you give me mandrakes, which were a fertility cult thing. So Leah met Jacob and said, come with me. And thus Leah had her sixth son, Zebulon. This is very important. Leah had 6 sons before Rachel had Joseph. Then God removed Rachel's disgrace. She bore a son, and she named him Joseph. Jacob said to Laban, it is time, let me go to my homeland. And now he's going to make the long journey home across the Jordan to the homeland where he has to meet Esau. But we continue now with the story. Laban agrees that he should go home, and he admits, I know God has blessed me, Laban says, because of you, Jacob. How much should I pay you? Again, Jacob doesn't trust his uncle, so he says, you don't have to pay me, just separate for me the dark sheep and the spotted goats. Those animals shall be my wages. Now Laban agreed because most of the sheep are white and most of the goats are dark. But Jacob deceived Laban. He used guile to birth dark sheep and spotted goats, so he increased, and thus Jacob grew very prosperous, and this got him into trouble at Laban's expense. We go to our next screen. Laban's son said, Jacob has taken, we put small letters there, stolen our father's possessions, and he has become rich. Jacob saw Laban's attitude toward him changed, so he fled with his family without saying goodbye. 3 days later, Laban learned Jacob had fled. He was furious, but this is very important. God said to Laban in a dream, do not harm Jacob. God was on Jacob's side. When Laban caught up to Jacob, he said, why did you deceive me? Can you imagine? Laban's been deceiving Jacob since he got there, and now they do it to each other. It's all in the family because Laban is his uncle. Why did you deceive me by running away secretly with my daughters? We go to our next screen. I could hurt you, Laban said, but your God said not to harm you. Jacob said, I slaved. He got confident because God was protecting him. And this is an important message. I slaved 20 years for you, 14 years for your daughters, and 6 years for your flocks, while you shortchanged me my wages. We find out he's been even deceiving him on his wages. If the God of Abraham and Isaac had not been with me, you would have sent me away with nothing. Laban said, let us make a peace pact with God as witness. So they did, but it clarified the boundaries that separated them. It did not mean family unity, as you would expect, because it's all one family, but this family is full of deception and deceit. So we go on to our next screen. How he's going home to Esau. So he clarifies with Uncle Laban, but now he's got another problem. Jacob then sent messengers ahead to Esau to say, I've become wealthy, and I hope to win your favor with my wealth. The messengers returned saying, Esau was coming to meet him with 400 men. Scared the devil. Jacob was afraid. So Jacob sent a wagon train of gifts to Esau. He said to himself, if I appease him, maybe he will forgive me. Now we go to our next screen, and he's alone at night. Alone that night, Jacob wrestled with a man till dawn. The man could not prevail, so he struck Jacob's hip and said, let me go. But Jacob said, I won't let you go till you bless me. Jacob is always trying to get God's blessing. The man said, you are no longer to be called Jacob, but Israel. Israel means contending with God. For you have contended with divine and humans, and you, Jacob, have prevailed even over God. Then he left. Jacob named the place Peniel. The name change approves Israel's nervy, contentious relationship with God. This is very important. Now we go to our next screen, and we see we're back at the theme. Thank you so much for joining us for this 122nd segment of our journey of faith in the light of the cross.